This note changed everything. Just a torn scrap of paper waiting on the kitchen table beside untouched leftovers and a dimming Christmas tree. I thought I was walking into a home filled with warmth. Instead, I stepped into a silence so heavy it felt rehearsed, and betrayal spelled out in plain black ink. We used your $8,500 for the family cruise. Take care of Grandma. No apology, no hesitation, just commands. Grandma lifted her eyes from her dinner, her voice trembling but steady. We'll fix this. I didn't break down. I didn't raise my voice. I smoothed the note under my palm and whispered, barely audible, they have no idea what's already in motion. People imagine betrayal arrives violently, slammed doors, broken plates, someone shrieking until they lose their voice. Mine slipped in quietly, wrapped in the soft buzz of Christmas lights. Grandma kept eating, slow and deliberate, her fork tapping the plate like a clock, marking each emotion I tried to swallow. Her sweater carried a faint scent of lavender mixed with dust, and she seemed smaller than she had last year, like the air itself had thinned around her. I slid into the chair across from her, the note lying between us like a verdict. Did they at least call? I asked. She shook her head. Left yesterday morning, said the ship wouldn't wait. Her voice wobbled on the word ship. That one word twisted the timeline. They'd taken my money days earlier and never intended to tell me, not even a message. All those years of being the dependable one, the one who always stepped in because family came first, I was their emergency fund with a heartbeat. I glanced around the kitchen, searching for something that proved they'd once lived here. A few half-drunk wine glasses, a lipstick smudge on a mug, an ornament I made at 12, still hanging crooked on the tree. It wasn't just quiet, it felt deserted. Grandma cleared her throat. You shouldn't waste your anger on them, sweetheart. I'm not angry, I lied, just shocked. But anger was already rising in me, hot and precise. She pushed a small envelope toward me. They told me not to worry about groceries, said you'd take care of it. Inside were receipts, gas stations, restaurant tabs, random online orders, all charged to her card. I stared until the numbers blurred together. They used your pension, too, I murmured. She looked away. Just for a bit. Your mother promised she'd return it. I wanted to scream, but the sound stayed buried. Instead, I stacked the receipts neatly beside the note. Pieces, patterns, motive. My mind shifted from hurt to calculation. Grandma must have seen it. Don't do anything reckless. I won't, I told her, though the word reckless felt misplaced. I wasn't the fool this time. Sleep didn't come that night. The house groaned and settled, remembering too much. Every moment I said yes when I should have said no re-ran in my mind. The tuition loan for Liam's kid, the car repair money for Maya, the bailout for Dad's gambling losses. Each memory clicked into place like tumblers in a lock. At 2 a.m., I opened my laptop. My fingers hovered over the keyboard while my heart hammered. If they used my money for their perfect vacation, I needed to know just how deep everything went. I started with Grandma's account. The login was still saved under family. Transactions loaded one after another. Withdrawals, transfers, payments to familiar names, and some I'd never heard of. Every click peeled back another layer of deception. By sunrise, my anger wasn't loud anymore. It was icy, focused. Grandma stirred in the living room, mumbling, half awake. You're still up? I nodded, eyes locked on the screen. Go back to sleep, Grandma. We'll fix this our way. The weak morning light spread across the tile floor, turning the piles of papers on the table into a battlefield. Statements, receipts, transfers, every one signed with the same sloppy handwriting, my mother's. I should have been shattered. Instead, I felt awake for the first time in years. Grandma shuffled in slowly, her slippers whispering across the floor. You didn't sleep, she said. I shrugged. Didn't need to. She watched as I drew lines between transactions, circling dates and writing names. You always loved puzzles, she murmured. This one's overdue, I answered. Every few minutes, something new clicked into place. A Venmo to Maya labeled utilities, but the same amount matched a Sephora purchase, a cash withdrawal the night Dad lost at poker, a cruise payment long before December. The numbers formed their own sick symmetry. Grandma sat down beside me. "They think you'll forgive them," she said. "You always do." I looked up. "Do you?" She hesitated. "I used to, not now." We sat in silence, 2 generations tied together by the same wound. When I opened the family group chat, I already knew what I would see. Nothing. The last message was from Mom. "Transfer the loan. Need to book before the price increases." No kindness, no gratitude, just expectation. I stared at it until the screen faded. Then I typed a single dot and sent it. A period. An ending. The next day I tried calling my mother. Straight to voicemail. Her chirpy message played. "Hi, you've reached Rachel. Leave something worth hearing." I hung up before she finished. That evening, Grandma brought out a thick old ledger, her handwriting careful and looping. "These are my pension deposits," she said softly. "Start in 2016. My chest tightened. "That's when she took your login." Grandma nodded with a sad smile. I told myself it was just for now. Funny how temporary things last the longest. We worked until our eyes stung. When I leaned back, everything was laid bare. 10 years of small thefts disguised as care. Something in me shifted, quiet but final. I wasn't going to confront them. I wasn't going to negotiate. I was going to document every detail. Grandma squeezed my fingers. "What are you thinking, sweetheart?" I held her gaze. That they picked the wrong person to underestimate. She let out a tired smile. "We'll fix this." "Yeah, but this time we fix it right." Past midnight, I created a folder on my laptop labeled Proof. Inside, I saved screenshots, transfers, chat logs, every guilt-soaked message now displayed without emotion. For once, none of the guilt belonged to me. In the hush between the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of my typing, I understood something. They hadn't simply stolen from us. They'd handed me everything I needed to end this my way. By the 4th day, the house didn't feel abandoned anymore. It felt like command central. Papers carpeted the kitchen table, each one held down by mugs and spoons so the heating vent wouldn't scatter them. Grandma called it organized fury. Outside, snow blanketed the yard. Inside, I buried the last remnants of shame. I'd spent 3 nights tracing every dollar: cruise deposits, jewelry orders, a supposed home improvement loan that landed directly in Maya's account. My entire savings and half of Grandma's funneled into their perfect holiday. That morning, I picked up my phone and dialed a number I never thought I would use. Natalie Shaw, an attorney I'd once driven during an Uber shift. She handed me her card. Elder Financial Abuse Specialist. Back then, it meant nothing. Now, it felt like air. She answered sharply. "Natalie Shaw?" "Hi," I said. "You probably don't remember," she interrupted. "You were the driver who didn't charge me for the airport delay." "That's me." I swallowed. "I think I need your help." She didn't hesitate. "Tell me everything." By the time we hung up, I had an email, a checklist, and a plan. "This isn't confusion or family drama, Tegan," she said. "It's a crime. But stay quiet. Let them come home first." I set the phone down. Grandma stood in the hallway, her expression a mix of fear and relief. "You called a lawyer?" "I called protection," I corrected. She nodded slowly, pride flickering behind her exhaustion. The next few hours moved with purpose. I scanned receipts, organized folders named transfers, cruise payments, luxury purchases, and neglect. Each renamed file felt like reclaiming a piece of my breath. At noon, Grandma shuffled in with 2 mugs of instant coffee. "You're shaking," she whispered. "I'm all right." "No," she said gently. "You're concentrating. That's different." Her calm steadied me. I sipped the bitter coffee and checked my phone. Maya had posted again. A picture of her, Liam, Mom, and Dad stretched out on cruise loungers, champagne in hand. The caption said, "Finally some peace away from the negativity, family only." "Negativity?" I echoed. "That's me, apparently." Grandma leaned closer, jaw hardening. "They'll choke on that peace soon enough." We shared a thin, fragile laugh, the first sound of humor in months. That night, I backed everything up onto an external drive and tucked it deep into the lining of Grandma's old winter coat. If the house burned, I'd still have every shred of proof. Natalie emailed again, control the narrative before they do. It became my mantra. I cleaned the house, not for their return, but for myself. I took down the blinking lights, tossed the dying poinsettias, packed away the ornaments. Each act felt like wiping their fingerprints off my life. And that was how it began. The night before their return, Grandma sat in her recliner, the TV playing some Hallmark rerun. "Do you think they'll even feel bad?" I asked. She didn't look away from the screen. "Guilt's a luxury, sweetheart. They spent theirs a long time ago." Outside, snow fell thicker, quiet and merciless. I imagined them coming home laughing loud, dragging their suitcases over the same floor they left covered in crumbs and lies. I pictured the moment they'd see me sitting there waiting. Before bed, I drafted an email titled Formal Report, Elder Financial Abuse. I attached the documents, wrote the summary, then saved it as draft. Not yet sent, but ready. That was my piece, knowing I could detonate it anytime. As I turned off the light, Grandma's voice floated down the hallway. "Remember what I said that night?" she called. "Which part will fix this?" I smiled into the dark. "Yeah, tomorrow we start." The next morning, sunlight spilled across the living room, too bright, too clean. I made breakfast, brewed coffee, set the table. Everything exactly as it should have been on Christmas Day, a quiet stage for a loud reckoning. Then came the sound I'd been waiting for, tires crunching on ice, doors slamming, laughter echoing through the front yard. Their voices, the same ones that once made me flinch, now just noise. I straightened my sweater, glanced at Grandma. She nodded once. The front door swung open. They were home, and this time I was ready. The front door swung open with that old familiar squeal. The sound used to make me happy, back when it meant family coming home. Now it just meant the storm had arrived. "Couldn't you at least shovel the driveway?" Mom's voice cut through the cold air before she even stepped inside. Rachel Harris, queen of calm cruelty, still in her sunglasses like she was allergic to reality. Dad followed, red-faced and bloated from buffet food, dragging 2 suitcases that looked heavier than his conscience. Behind, Maya stumbled in, her nails perfect, her voice sharp. "God, it's freezing. You could have turned the heat up." Liam was last, carrying himself like a man who believed no one could touch him. No one spoke to Grandma. They brushed past her like she was furniture. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I found the note, where this all began. My laptop was open. The screen glowed soft blue. "Welcome home," I said evenly. Mom froze when she saw me. "Tegan, you're still here?" I smiled. "You told me to take care of Grandma." Maya laughed bitter. "Oh, come on, don't be dramatic." Grandma, sitting quietly in her chair, didn't even look up. "I'm too old for dramatics," she murmured. I gestured toward the chairs. "Sit." They exchanged confused looks, but sat, Rachel at the head, like always. I waited until the sound of their chairs scraping faded. Then I clicked play. The first file on the screen was a spreadsheet, rows of numbers, dates, payments, transfers from Grandma's pension, withdrawals from her account. The title at the top read, "Funds Misappropriated by Rachel Harris and Family." For a few seconds, no one spoke, just the sound of the ceiling vent humming. Dad leaned forward, squinting. "What the hell is this?" "Your vacation itinerary," I said. Rachel's smile faltered. "Where did you—" "From the same place you got my savings," I said. "Grandma's bank." I turned the page, screenshots of messages between Rachel and Maya. "Rachel, he won't notice the cruise deposit missing. He trusts us." Maya, "He's too soft. Plus, who leaves Grandma alone on Christmas anyway?" The color drained from Maya's face. You went through our phones?" "No," I said.
You left your cloud backups unprotected. Turns out, honesty isn't the only thing you're bad at securing. Liam slammed his hand on the table. You can't just spy on your own family. Grandma's voice sliced through the room, calm and deadly. You stopped being family when you started stealing from me. Silence, heavy, absolute. I clicked another file. This one was audio. Ava's voice trembled through the speakers. They said if Tegan didn't send the money, they'd just leave her and deal with it later. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Liam shot up. You recorded my wife? I asked her to, I said, because she was done lying for you. Dad's chair scraped back as he stood. You little snake. You've been digging into our accounts like some kind of someone who's tired of being robbed, I interrupted. Yeah, exactly that. I opened the last file, a draft email already addressed to Natalie, the State Elder Protection Unit, and 2 local news outlets. The subject line read, "Formal complaint, elder financial abuse, supporting evidence attached. You have 48 hours," I said quietly. "Return every cent or I send this." Maya laughed, a high, brittle sound. You wouldn't. You'd ruin your own family. No, I said, you did that when you traded love for leverage. Rachel's voice dropped low. You think people will side with you? You've always been the dramatic one, Tegan, the victim. I looked at her, really looked at her, at the perfect hair, the false composure, the eyes that had always seen weakness where there was loyalty. I'm not the victim, I said. I'm the receipt. Dad opened his mouth, but Grandma spoke first. Her voice was rough but steady.
I raised 3 children, she said slowly, fed you, worked 2 jobs, and you left me with frozen beans and moldy pie while you sipped champagne on a ship I paid for. You're lucky it's her handling this, because if it were me— Her words trailed off, but her eyes did the rest. Rachel tried to smile. Mother, let's not. Don't you mother me, Grandma snapped, slamming her hand on the table so hard the sound cracked through the air. The shock of it made even Liam flinch. I pushed the envelope across the table. Inside, printed copies of every document, every message. 1 copy for you, I said, and 1 for my attorney. No one moved. Then Grandma stood up. Her legs shook, but her voice didn't. Get out, she said. You can come back when you've made things right. Rachel blinked, stunned. Mom, you can't mean that. I mean it, Grandma said, and don't come crying when your names hit the papers. Maybe then you'll understand what family really costs. They hesitated. Liam cursed under his breath. Maya began to cry, but no one apologized. When the door finally shut behind them, the silence that filled the house wasn't empty anymore. It was earned. 4 days later, they called, then texted, then begged. We didn't mean it like that. We'll pay you back. Please don't do this. I didn't respond. I just forwarded everything to Natalie. That evening, the lawyer called. They made payments, she said, full restitution plus penalties. I thanked her and hung up. Grandma was in her chair, knitting quietly. Was it worth it? She asked. I looked at the folder, still open on my laptop, my life neatly categorized. It was overdue, I said. She smiled faintly. They thought you were the soft one. I smiled back. They were right until they mistook soft for weak. Outside, snow began to fall again, covering the driveway they'd refused to shovel. And for the first time, it didn't look cold, it looked clean. It took less than a week for everything to unravel publicly. Rachel tried to spin the story online, called it a family misunderstanding, but screenshots spread faster than apologies. Maya's employers saw the headlines and quietly removed her from the team page. Liam's paycheck got garnished by court order, and his wife, Ava, finally moved out. But I didn't celebrate. I was too tired to. Justice doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like the air after a storm, clean but heavy. When the settlement came through, I transferred every cent of Grandma's money into a joint account she controlled. Then I used my part, $3,000, for my long-delayed dental surgery. Another $2,000 went toward a motorized lift chair and a part-time nurse for Grandma. The rest stayed untouched, labeled future. We moved into a small apartment downtown, 2 bedrooms, sunlight spilling through thin curtains, the kind of quiet that doesn't ache. Every morning she'd hum while watering her plants. Every night we'd eat dinner at the same old table. No yelling, no guilt. One evening she looked at me and said, "You fixed it." I shook my head. "No, we did." And for the first time, the word we didn't feel heavy. It felt like home. Weeks later, I ran into a woman at the grocery store. She looked at me for a long moment before asking, "You're the one who stood up for your grandmother, right?" I nodded, unsure what to say. She smiled softly. "My mother went through the same thing. I wish someone had fought for her the way you did." Then she walked away, leaving me standing there between the soup cans and the fluorescent hum, realizing something simple. This story was never just ours. Back home, Grandma was watching the snow outside our window. "Peace looks good on you," she said. And maybe she was right. The quiet wasn't empty anymore. It was earned. I turned to the camera, steady and calm. If you've ever had to protect someone you love from your own family, you're not alone.